This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm here with Laurence Jankelow, and this guy quit his fabulous job, him and his partner. They quit their fabulous job to go on this journey, and they now have a software that helps landlords, over 200 landlords, manage over 400 tenants. And they kind of did this on their own to improve their own business. And it turned out to be a business with about 22 employees and an ongoing concern. So my hat is off to you, Laurence. How you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks, Mitch. Just one correction, 200,000 landlords, 400,000 tenants.
What did I say? 200 and 400? That was
Yeah.
a bad. 200,000 landlords, okay, helping to keep track of over 400,000 tenants. Thank you for the correction, because that was not just a small mistake. That was a huge mistake. As I said, it's an ongoing concern. So before I get started, I need to pay homage to my sponsors here real quick. So give me a second here, Laurence, to talk about taxfreefuture.com. If you do not have a tax deferred or tax-free entity to which to grow your retirement or your finances in general, man, you are missing the boat. This is a huge tool that you should have in your tool belt. If you've heard about IRAs and 401ks and solo 401ks and SEPs and health accounts and educational accounts that can grow tax-free, this is what we're talking about. Please go to taxfreefuture.com, watch the 37 video vignettes where I talk to Tim Berry, the attorney behind taxfreefuture.com, over 2 decades dealing in retirement account law. What you can do, what you can't do, how to maximize what you do, and how to stay out of trouble with what you do, and just really learn to proliferate. You will not believe what your financial advisors are not telling you, and we're going to tell you what they're not telling you and why they're not telling you, and then you can do with it what you want, but we're going to give you the information to make that decision. I have no doubt what you're going to do once you figure out the size of this tool that you should have in your tool belt. Taxfreefuture.com. Thank you very much. I got the bills paid, Laurence. So
Great.
Now, so you're sitting over there in Chicago, Illinois, right?
Yep. I'm currently in our office, only one here due to the pandemic currently, but yeah, good old Windy City.
Got it all to yourself, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you had this job, you had a few rent houses, decided that managing it could be a lot easier, so you set out to make a software. By the way, the software is free, so we're going to be giving it away here shortly, or I say giving it away. We're going to tell you how to get to it. It's already free. So let's start back. What kind of job did you have? Who were you before real estate?
Yeah. Well, before real estate, I was at Goldman Sachs, mostly doing data analytics, supporting some of our alternative investments and hedge funds. And then prior to that, even I was at a business and risk consultancy shop here in Chicago, again, doing mostly data analytics, helping clients with process improvement through data. So always kind of had a knack or niche in data analytics. And, I managed 6 units on the side. Those are basically 2-3 unit multifamily buildings. And, I was doing that part-time, had my full-time job, and those became a pain. Me and my buddy were basically making rental applications in Excel by merging cells, painting them, making them pretty, printing it out, handing it to a tenant, saying, fill this out. We felt kind of awkward doing that. So we went out looking for software to streamline that process, maybe take away half to 90% of the time we were putting in on the rental property so we could focus on our jobs. And when we looked and saw what software was available for us, we saw that there was nothing in our price point. There are huge, large, monolithic software available for landlords who have 10,000 units or so, and obviously out of our price range. So we decided to quit our jobs and build this ourselves, take kind of all those learnings from, we'd had with data and those things, and then set out on this new path and journey. And we're lucky in a lot of ways that it actually worked out for us. But kind of, you look back on it in hindsight, I feel like we were kind of just 2 idiots not knowing what we were getting into.
Hey, if you'd have known everything you were going to have to go through, you'd have never started, right?
Yeah. I mean, now it's too late. Now I'm in it. But the amount of learning we had to do since doing this on our own, it's incredible. It makes me look back on, having a boss and a manager, and I had a problem, I could go to them. And when you start your own thing, it's hard to find someone you can turn to and ask help from. You are that person. So it's a night and day difference.
Well, that's where you got to go get some mentors or some coaches, right? Someone who's been down the road.
I'd
Uh,
highly recommend that to anyone doing their own business.
yeah. Um, so you jump off, you start making the software. When does it become, when does it occur to you that you're going to leave your job, and how scary is that?
Well, both Ryan, who founded it with me, we had been avid readers of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, kind of that cliche book. And we knew we wanted to be starting to go down that path of financial independence. So that's why we'd gotten into real estate in the first place. It's why I had those 6 units. He was managing some single family homes. So we always wanted to go there. And we knew like the next quadrant, so to speak, was business owner. And so you could either turn your rental properties into a more formal business, which I think is the path you took, which is a really interesting, unique path. And for us, we ended up saying, hey, look, we're going to go down this path and build software that's going to meet our needs and hopefully extend it to other people like us. So that was really kind of how that all played out for us. I don't know that we really appreciated the level of effort it would go to kind of building a whole business from scratch. But we realized like if we wanted to take it seriously, we couldn't do it part-time while being at our job. So we actually quit the same day that we said, let's go do this. We didn't try experiment while being employed. I think for us, we thought that'd be unfair to the employer, but also unfair to our dreams. So we took the huge risk with nothing but a napkin idea and quit our jobs.
Wow. We call that in Texas a big set of cojones.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a little bit of ignorance more so than cojones.
Maybe a medium-sized set of cojones and a really big savings account. I don't know, but either way, it takes a lot of nerve. Hats off to you, man, because you took a challenge and you went out. Right off the top of my head. So that sounds like a very stressful partnership from the beginning because, there's so many unknowns. How has the partnership survived, or what changes has the partnership gone through, the relationship between you and your partner?
Yeah, well, Ryan and I were friends in college. So we were in the same business fraternity. We had actually taken some of the same courses. We'd worked together in college. We actually invested in some property tax lien certificates. That's a whole nother thing to go into. If people don't pay their taxes, you can invest in those taxes kind of thing. So we had seen what it would be like to work together. We had actually lived together for a year after college as well. So we had a good idea of how that would work, but certainly, 7 years of working together now on something as frustrating as this, there were bouts where we wanted to push or shove each other, and I think you worked through those. There was a Steve Jobs quote from a long time ago where he had said, "If you're not fighting, then you're not building the right solutions." And so, we took that to heart. We've had lots of butting heads, and I think we've come out stronger.
Have you lost money together?
I mean, technically, as a startup, we're focused on growing revenue, but we're not necessarily aimed at profitability yet. So we raise money, but every year we're essentially losing money.
Like in the tax liens?
No, the tax liens ended up working out for us pretty well.
The reason I brought it up was because, when everything's good, everybody's a good partner. You figure out who your partners are is when the fit hits the shan. It's like, okay. Yeah. Now I'm gonna figure out who my partner is, and then if you can survive that, that's a good partnership.
Yeah, we certainly have plenty of those. It's not necessarily down to the financials, but we're VC backed, so we've got capitalists on our neck asking why is it not growing faster, 10x the growth, or we're never going to give you money again. So we get lots of kind of those threats. We never feel like we're doing good enough. So we do face a lot of pressure, and that puts some strain. But 7 years, I feel like it's a marriage. I feel like it's had its ups and downs. I feel like it's stronger than it's ever been.
Okay, so tell us about the software. What did you do for the small landlord?
Yeah, well, initially we set out to kind of solve our own problems. So, when I was working, we had to think about I need to find tenants and do showings. And one of the things that I really hated doing was going onto Craigslist every day, or trying to get it timed perfectly to do it twice a day so that it floats to the top. And I felt like Craigslist didn't give me really good quality leads, and I didn't know where else to go. So the very first thing we built was you create a listing with us, and we're going to automatically post it across the web to find you those tenants. So we post it to Zillow, Trulia, Hotpads, Lovely, Apartments.com, Rent.com, kind of everywhere. And so you don't have to be manually doing that every day. We do it for you. And all of the leads from those various places make their way into Avail so that you can just see it right in one place and manage those leads easily. So that was kind of the first thing we did. We started seeing that we were getting the average landlord something like 18 to 20 leads in that first week. So that was overwhelming. Even for me, that's just too many. And so we started adding in the capability to book showings through the website. Tenants can just make a showing and then the landlord would show up at the same time. Screening tenants, so we hook into TransUnion to access credit reports, criminal background checks, eviction checks, so that the landlords can start to whittle down those 20 leads to the 2 or 1 that they want to rent to. And then for us, we found that there's a lot of legal complications with being the landlord. You have to have a lease that's state or city specific, has to include disclosures, has to include specific language. So we compiled all of that for the 50 states and the top 100 cities. And so we provide a very city and state specific lease agreement that can be signed online. And then from there, tenants log in to pay their rent each month, or they can set up auto pay. And so the interaction between the landlord and tenant for a large part is happening through the platform. There are still human touch points. You can never take it out of real estate. So the showings are still done in person. We'd still encourage that and recommend that. And then maintenance oftentimes is done in person, whether it's the landlord themselves going into the unit to make a fix or just arranging a contractor.
So when you start this out, how are you getting this product out to the market when you first start?
Yeah, that was actually a challenge. And I wish we had thought about that earlier. So, in startup world, there's a common term called MVP. It stands for minimum viable product. And it's essentially what's the minimum set of features you can get to market right away so you can start iterating on it and get real customer feedback. But what no one ever talks about when you're building that is MVA, minimum viable audience. And if in hindsight, I wish we had gone back and been working on the MVA before or at the same time as the MVP. How do we think about building that minimum audience in conjunction with it? And we hadn't done that. The challenge is, do-it-yourself landlords, which is our target. So it's landlords with 9 units or less. They're not in a phone book. They're not listed somewhere. They don't really necessarily think of themselves as a business. So it's hard to find them. Now, on the flip side, there's way more of them than any other kind of landlord. The United States has something like 45 million rental units, and these landlords own 24 million of them. So they own just about half or over half of all of the rental units in the United States. So they're everywhere, but they're not listed. So you've got to start thinking about being where they are, which is really online. And they'll go on to Google and they'll search for stuff like, what do I do if my tenant's rent is late? Or how do I get a tenant's credit report? Or what does a credit report even mean for my tenants? And if you can be there answering those questions, providing really useful educational content, then they find out about you through that. So that's what we set out to do. And we actually look at that as a core extension of our product, is the educational and process.
Great. So you're developing a free software, but you must have a premium level or something, because how do you make any money if it's free?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Well, what we realized is, like, for our audience, if you have 1 unit, you tend to maybe potentially be an accidental landlord. You might be looking to sell the property, or you just had a single family home that you're just keeping. And you tend to think of yourself, you're a consumer. You have a kind of a consumer mindset. You're probably not willing to pay anything. And that's actually a lot of our landlords, and we love working with them. We help give them a lot of the guidance that they would need, because they're just not professionals yet, at least. And so for someone like that, the software is entirely free. The way we've priced it is actually any number of units is free. But what we find is if you've got 2 or more, approaching the 9 units, you tend to start acting more like a business, starting to be professional, and then you have a higher need for advanced tools. So like automatic late fees, for instance. And then you would upgrade to a premium plan that includes some enhancements that you just don't need if you've got 1 unit. And so we do monetize it that way, where you can opt in to go to a premium plan. We do have some transactional things too, like a credit report is going to cost, credit report, criminal background check, and eviction check together. The 3 of those reports is going to cost $55. And so we make some money on that as well.
Yeah, I understand. And no one begrudges anybody for making some money if you deliver the needed service, right? I mean, that's the whole point.
Yep.
So do you cap at 9? Like if someone has 15 units, they're not for you, or they are?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that question. That's a great question. We don't cap it. We just design it for 9 and fewer because the mindset's a little different. We've got a lot of landlords who have 200, 300, 400 units, but they use it a little differently than the 9-uniter. You know, at 200, 300 units, you're thinking about how do I add more properties on a regular basis. You probably have some people that you employ to help you, whereas someone with 9 units probably doing it themselves may not necessarily be thinking of adding units at the same frequency. They're probably the ones logging in and doing things. So kind of what you need is a little different. So when we think about product development and our go-to-market strategy, we tend to focus on the 9 and fewer, but certainly there's tremendous value for someone with 200, 300 units. We just don't market to them necessarily.
Okay, so you've been in business for how long?
7 years. So technically you starting
to kind of go viral? I mean, you're starting to get a lot of word of mouth because I mean, 200,000 landlords and 400, well, the landlords are the ones that matter because the tenants aren't going to recommend you. I don't think, but so 200,000 landlords, are you reaching critical mass yet where you're kind of becoming famous for what you do?
I hope so. We've been putting a lot of effort in. Of those 7 years, the first 2 years, really, we couldn't find an engineer to build it for us for free. So, you know, Ryan and I ended up being very scrappy. We decided we were going to teach ourselves to code, and we built the product ourselves. So in that first 2 years, I think I wrote the first 500,000 lines of code, and I'd never touched code before. So sometimes you have to kind of just roll up your sleeves and do what you weren't expecting to do. And that's essentially what those first 2 years were. We struggled trying to get a partnership with someone who would give us real-time access to credit reports. Like, how do you validate yourselves? Or, you know, we do payments. So to be able to hook into someone's bank account and pull money out, you have to, it takes some coercion in a way to get a bank to let you do that. And so we spent the first 2 years working on that and building the product. So I'd say a lot of our growth happened after that, once it started becoming a little real. And yeah, we employ a lot of different digital marketing techniques to find landlords. We do get landlords who love the product and refer other landlords. We're starting to see word of mouth adoption, some virality. On the tenant side, I know you mentioned, tenants may not recommend their landlords, but we actually see that happening a lot for a couple reasons. On the payment side, we actually report on-time rent payments to the credit bureaus. So we're helping tenants build up their credit profile so that they have something. For a lot of tenants, this is the largest expense they have, and they don't get, credit for it. It's about time they get it. So we get a lot of tenants bringing on their next landlords. They can continue paying online. We also find that maybe the market's a little unfair to tenants in a way. So normally if you're a tenant, you apply to one place, you pay $55. If you apply to a second place, you pay another $55. And you may keep paying. And if they use us, they'll pay the fee once, and then they can share it with any landlord that they're applying for. So they can get some tremendous savings that way. And we have natural virality built that way through it. So we do put a lot of emphasis on the quality of the product for the tenants because they do help us share it. We also look at them as the customer of our customer in a way.
Well, half of collecting payments, easily and on time is making it easy for your tenants to pay. I collect probably on any given day between 300 and 500 notes because I sell my houses. I'm not a buy and hold guy per se. I buy and then sell or finance. So I'm collecting a mortgage payment, and we use the company where people can pay at over 250 places in town, and it's real time. And that helps a lot too. I have a storage business where I have boat and mini storages, 1,600 people, and they have an online ability to pay, and they can pay with anything. They can PayPal or Visa or check, automated checks or whatever. I don't know. Sometimes you operate at a level you don't know everything, but you know that you have it. So finally got to that level.
Yeah, giving them option is critical. I think let them pay the way they want to.
But I think one of the most important things you said is you're allowing them to get some credit for being a good payer, and that doesn't happen for most landlords. Don't offer that to people, and that would be, if you're getting good tenants, they're concerned about their credit rating and score, and if they see an opportunity where if they make their rent on time, they can be given good credit towards their credit report. That could be a real sales tool,
Yeah, we actually do a lot of emphasis on doing the right thing for the landlord and the tenant. Even the credit reports we pull, those act as soft inquiries. So when we screen tenants through Avail, it doesn't negatively impact their credit score.
Okay. Oh, cool. Very good. Very good. So I want you guys to go to 1000houses.com/tenants with an S, tenants. And over there, you're going to be able to get a free copy of a tenant screening guide, so you can learn how to screen your tenants, okay? And there'll also be all kinds of information about this software that's free. And then, you know, check it out and see how it works, and check out the company and learn what Laurence and Ryan have built for you. And then if you decide you need to go to this other tier, you're getting to be a little bit more serious about the landlording game, starting to build a reputation and build a stream of income that you're enthused about, then maybe you want to take it to the next level. When someone decides that they want to go to the next tier, what does that cost them? And,
Sure.
I'm going to preface this by saying, you know, these podcasts are going to be archived. You may be watching this podcast months from the day that it was recorded. So they have the right to change their prices or adjust their prices or whatever. But today, right now, in June 2020, what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the changing prices, because we oftentimes get people calling in who are signing up and wanting to do the premium, and they call our customer service team and they ask for some sort of guarantee on the subscription fees, because they always tell us it's too good to be true. It's so cheap. How can you run a business like this? And it's actually extremely profitable for us. We just try to make it affordable for everybody. So the price is $5 per unit. And what that really allows you to do is to continue managing the property yourself. There's a whole debate on whether property managers, you know, use a property manager or yourself. And we try to empower a landlord to do it themselves, because you get tremendous savings that way. So if you can show the place yourself or collect the rent yourself, you're going to save, you know, 10% a month on the management side, $1,000 or more a month on finding the tenant side. So this allows you to do those things for $5 a month.
You know, and to your point, no one cares about your money like you care about your money. You know, that's the problem with management companies, is it's just not their money.
Yep.
They just can't give a damn nearly as much as you do. You know, plumbing leak, well, we'll get to it tomorrow. No, it's a plumbing leak. You need to get to it now. Well, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, I don't care. You know, we already should have someone who's going to be there at 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, have we not planned for that? You know,
yeah.
Believe me, leaks don't happen when you want. Leaks happen when they happen. And so you got to have a contingency plan. You know, this is the normal guy, but when it's 2 o'clock in the morning, we got to go to this other guy. And then they don't, you know, how much does that guy cost, and have they shopped, and are you getting some kind of price from him for volume? It's really better, honestly, especially when you're starting out, to at least run the business yourself until you understand the complications of the business and the resolves for those complications. Because then you're always, if you don't, you're always at the mercy of whatever someone tells you. And it's not, people tell you what they want, what they want you to hear, and what their motives demand. And their motives are to make money, of course. So it's difficult to find a management company. And then the other thing, you may have a perfectly good management company, and then you've gone out and recommended them to your friends, and your friends recommended them, and all of a sudden now they're not any good because they're overloaded. That happens to me all the time. People that are great when they start out turn out to be not worth a damn 6 or 8 months, because I've referred the hell out of them because they were good. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, well, I get great people now. Sometimes I'm afraid to refer them because, you know, but I have a way of getting people a lot of business. I'm like, what is it called in that, the tipping point? I'm a maven, I think. Is that what's called, a maven? Someone who will
I think they had influencer as one, or sales. They had, yeah, that's a great book though, by the way. Highly recommend everyone read that.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I like something, even if I'm not getting paid, I'm going to recommend it. I'll go out and give people a lot of business. And I've actually had people call me and tell me, stop, I can't take it. So
that's a great problem to have.
Maybe we can help you. I have some ideas on how to proliferate your business using LiveComm.com, LiveComm.com. And I don't want to go through it here because it may or may not be for you. But you know, I sell my houses in 9 days. and I average 12% down. I average 9 days on the market. A lot of that's because of LiveComm, LiveComm, and it's a phone capture system. You know, people call, when people call live, you buy phone numbers from LiveComm, and then you can set that phone number up to go to a recording where I can tell everyone everything about that house, and it is correct every single time. If it goes to a salesperson, maybe it even doesn't even get answered. You know, I mean, 6 o'clock on Sunday morning, maybe that salesman doesn't answer. My recording answers, and more importantly, it gives every single fact that is relevant to that house that I can think of. And if you ever come up with something I haven't thought of, I'll add it to the list. And it gets it right every single time. It never gets it wrong, because you only got to get it right one time in the recording. And then the system captures that cell phone number and puts it in a text distribution list. So every phone number comes with a text distribution list. Also can record your, you know, you can click on a record button so it can archive the recorded calls, and it goes on and on and on. Voiceless, voice drop, call out from numbers. I have a way that might be able to help your business, and I'm going to talk to you about it when we get done. But I right now have over 24,000 people in my text distribution lists that are waiting for me to text them the next time I have an owner financed house for sale. They have all my signs about owner financed houses. I have captured their phone number. I have sent out a text on the 1st of every month that says, if you're no longer interested in a seller financed home, then reply with the word stop and get off this list right now. Stop getting this. I still have 24,000 people in my town that want to know the next time I have an owner financed house come up. I have an idea for you to use this to promote, for landlords to promote their houses, and for you to promote your software. So we'll talk about it all.
I'll be all ears. Because
it's not just about, LiveComm's not, I use it to help real estate investors and the such, because that's the niche that's the pond I swim in. But it can be used for all different kinds of businesses. I mean, how many businesses wouldn't like to be able to text the people that read their ad or listen, you know, watch their commercial? I mean, it would be ridiculous. And you can text them for 2 cents per person.
Great, amazing.
You know, so we'll talk about that after the show.
Appreciate that.
What's some of the, let's start to wrap it up here a little bit, but what's the biggest mistake landlords make? Especially the one, you know, he just inherited a house from Uncle Bob because he passed away and he got it, and he thinks this is a great time to get some cash flow. What's their big mistake?
Yeah, well, if someone's inherited a house, I mean, I guess generally speaking, I see 2 mistakes that landlords make. The first is not considering yourself a business from day one. Your whole mindset changes when it's a business. You start thinking about how you can add value to the property to increase revenue, how to manage expenses, how to treat tenants as customers. Those all come when you think of it as a business.
How to manage liability.
Liability, absolutely, which is huge. You know, you want insurance, you want an LLC around these things, and think about it as a bit.
You want a contract that says what you're expected to do and what they're expected to do, because this, you know, lawsuits are not cheap.
Yeah, it puts you in the mindset where you're like, yes, I do need a lease agreement. That does make sense. And I want tools to help me manage this. You know, I might want Google Voice to have a phone number instead of my personal phone number or something like that. It helps you there. The second thing I would say that a lot of landlords make a mistake on is when they buy their first place. Because most people are used to buying a primary residence, and a rental property is nothing like a primary residence. You want to base it on numbers. What kind of cash flow is it going to get you? Maybe look at cash on cash returns. When you make your money is at purchase, because you need a property that's going to meet the financial goals you have. And a lot of people come in treating it as a private residence. They want it the super upgraded house that they themselves would live in. And although you want to provide a high quality of living for a tenant, you don't want it to be your tastes and your dreams. You want something that's going to be affordable and get them what your tenants need and meet your financial goals.
There you go. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. Did I miss any pertinent questions, or is anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you, or something that you want to convey? Because I'm not right in the middle of your world, so I might have missed something. Is there anything I missed?
No, honestly, I think you covered it. I think it was fair. I appreciate you giving me so much time to talk about, you know, my company, Avail. You know, don't often get that opportunity to just kind of talk about it, trying to do it in a non-promotional way. Obviously, just landlords need tools. We provide one option. I'd recommend tools regardless of if it's Avail or not. Landlords should be thinking about things as a process and a business and using tools to empower them, even if it's not ours.
Yeah, well, the goal is to deliver information and help people improve their lives. My personal goal, Dave Ramsey does the primal scream when people become debt-free. Dale Ramsey would hate me. I bought my first 100 houses on credit cards 20 something years ago. But my goal in life is to help. We ring the bell around here when someone calls up and says, I just fired my boss and I don't have a job, I don't need anyone more. I am now in control of my own destiny. That's when we ring the bell. And that's what turns me on, is to help people find, whether they hire me or they hire someone else or whatever, whether they use my strategy that I like, my favorite strategy, or they use someone else's strategy, I don't really care. The idea of this podcast is to help people get to their financial independence so that they can become the person that they were born to be. And it's hard sometimes to be the person you're born to be if you've got to give up 2,600 hours of your life every year just to making someone else money. So
yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Financial independence for a lot of people should be the goal. And yeah, if you can use real estate to get you there. And I think, with the debt, I think there's good debt, there's bad debt. If you can use debt to put money in your pocket each month, so like the income is more than the debt payment, I think that's good debt. We should load up on that.
yeah, well,
I think it's
that you got that, we all kind of got that exact, those acronyms from Kiyosaki. There's good debt and there's bad debt. And we've been trained wrong. I mean, we've been taught wrong from the very beginning. Not only is school not teaching us what we really need to know, they're teaching things that are wrong, or even in real life, there's things that are wrong. When I go to the bank to fill out a credit application for a line of credit or something, they ask me for my list of assets. And in that list of assets, they expect to see my car and my boat and, my jet ski. Well, those damn things are not assets. Those are liabilities. That jet ski never made me a dime. Right. And so Kiyosaki was eloquent and simple in the way that he put it. An asset makes more money than it costs every day or every month. It makes money, and that's an asset. Everything else is a liability. Even your home. I mean, my home. The only thing I argue about is home. Some people say you don't even need to own a home anymore. I don't. I want to own the place I live. I don't care what you say. I want to own my house. But is my house listed as an asset? I guess so, because I'm going to live in it so long that it's eventually going to appreciate and it will put money in my bank account. But does my house make me money on a monthly basis? No. So the house is your own personal residence, the only thing that kind of falls in a crack there. But everything else is pretty cut and dried. It's either making you money at the end of the month or it costs you money at the end of the month. If I can borrow 20 grand on my credit card to buy a house and then another 10 grand on another credit card to fix it up, and so I got $30,000 worth of credit card debt, but I can sell that house for $60,000 in the next 30 days. That's a good credit card debt. Most people look at credit card debt as, just the word credit card debt, everyone will just lump it into this is horrible debt, don't do it. Well, no, there's more to the story. Did the credit card debt make you money? Because if it did, that's some hellacious connections there with the credit card, way to go.
Yeah, I think if you can find other sources of debt besides credit card, you're probably better off there. But if credit card's what you have access to and you're going to make more than what it's going to cost you, then it still makes sense. Okay,
well, now you're walking into my field, but I had 6 months, 6 months zero interest. So I would buy these houses, $30,000, $40,000 spread over 4 credit cards, and I would have no payments. And then I'd sell the house and I would send everything back and I would make my profit, and I had no cost of funds. So,
Sure. In that case, it's a genius because it's 0% interest. And you obviously want to get the lowest interest you can on whatever your source of debt was.
My wife didn't think it was very smart. She discovered $250,000 worth of credit card bills one day before I got to the mailbox and damn near got me divorced. I was 30 days married. I got married when I was 30. I was 30 days married. That was my first lesson in the wife will find out everything. That was the first lesson, that department. Luckily, we stayed married. We'll be married 30 years this month. And she doesn't question me on my credit card debt anymore. So
Great. Well, congrats on 30 years. That's huge. And obviously congrats on the success you've had. 1,000 houses, or, you know, adding 100 a year is amazing.
well, I tell everyone I graduated from La Calle U. I graduated from, that means the street in Spanish. The most expensive college in the world, the University of the Streets, will take everything you own and kick you and spit on you. There's no cheerleaders out there in the street. It'll just ruin you. So don't do it that way. Get a coach. You know, we pay so much money for an education, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and take 4 and 5 and 6 years to get all this. Most coaches are not even relatively close to that amount of money, not hardly even. And you can absorb it in much faster time than traditional education paces you at. So a lot of this stuff you can get under your belt in 30 days or 60 days, and you can be off and running and having some income come in. So yeah, definitely get a mentor if you have the chance. What I say about that, mentors, is do your research, make sure the person that you hire is doing exactly what they're trying to teach, because I don't want to hear the theory of how to do it. I want to learn from someone who's doing it. And then make sure that person is the kind of person that you want to be on and off the field, because they're going to mesh somewhere. And if the person's really great at doing business deals and makes a lot of money, but he's a shit ass when he's not, you know, when he's not on camera, then find someone else. All right, my friends. This is Mitch Stephen, 1000houses.com podcast. I'd like to thank Tax Free Future for sponsoring this segment. You won't believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. We're going to tell you what they're not telling you. We're going to tell you why, and learn why tax deferred and tax free IRAs and 401ks and I don't know, educational programs and health savings accounts are so valuable. It's unbelievable. You know, people say the wealthy get wealthier and the wealthy don't pay tax. Here's news. Here's a news flash for all y'all that are out there bitching about rich people who don't pay taxes. They operate by the same exact laws you do. They just get out and study things like taxfreefuture.com and they take action on them. And you have the same potential to use the same laws and the same things that they use. So quit complaining about it and get on there and get on with the education and learn why, you know, these people are given these incentives. They're given these incentives because they move economies. They cause more taxation than they would ever be able to pay in their lifetime. But that's a longer conversation, and we could be here all day and probably have several arguments about it. All right, this is Stephen. We're out of here. Thanks, Laurence.
Thank you.
One last time, 1000houses.com, tenants. Go there, get your tenant screening guide and learn more about the free software. And then if you're making this a career, they're just going to charge you $5 a unit to give you all these resources and help you in all these many ways. All right. There we go. Bye-bye.